Drug and substance abuse is a major problem worldwide, especially in developing countries, with Kenya being among the most affected countries in Africa. In recent weeks, cases of high school and campus students being nabbed with alcohol, bang, and other drugs during opening and flash searches have highlighted how serious the issue of substance abuse really is.
Well, I think we've all seen an increase in the use of different substances and traditional ones and even a wider range of substances being used by the youth today. And I think you've seen that in the last 2-3 years. There has been a big need in the country even to look at ways of solving the problems of particularly alcohol abuse, alcohol dependence, we call it, and also the use of other drugs and newer drugs, which we actually didn't have. Like you could say 20 years ago, it would have been unusual to find people with heroin addiction. Of course, we still did have some, but it was not very common. And right now we are in a situation where we're even setting up special clinics, like a methadone clinic, to try and manage this problem.
As you scroll through social media pages, chances are you will come across pictures and videos of young people partying and enjoying life, popularly coined as kupiga sherehe in the Kenyan social scenes. For many youths, alcohol and weed consumption has become the status quo for looking cool and passing time during the weekend.
My name is Tony Kibet. I'm 26 years old. I'm a graphic designer and a filmmaker. Before all this, before I could achieve any of these things, I was a drug addict.
Beneath all the glam and the glamour showcased on social media and social circles, there is a growing problem of drugs and substance abuse among the Kenyan youth. Education has predominantly been viewed as the principal means of preventing drug abuse. Ironically, it's in those educational institutions that many first-time users are exposed to drugs.
The very first introduction to drugs was in high school. I just transferred from a private school, Light Academy, and went to a public school, High. That was in 2008.
What many people started out as a recreational activity is increasingly becoming an issue of major concern, with many youth dealing with substance abuse problems. According to the 2017 NACADA report, a majority of Kenyans hold a positive attitude towards drugs, with 18.2% of Kenyans reporting to have used at least one substance. Majority of lifetime users reporting to being introduced to drugs during high school and campus years.
So going to High, I met someone who now introduced me for the very first time in my life to marijuana. But now it didn't go into any depth, because that very first puff that I had, for me it was quite a scaring experience. I even thought this guy would rob me or something, you know. It's like how you're having a drink and someone puts mchele, you know. So I kind of thought, you know, this guy's giving me something poisonous. So that first time in high school, I never went back to it again. But then I picked it now in campus, where it was more of a very misguided notion or a very wrong perception that drinking is cool. And this happened after, immediately after Form 4, that is 2009. I visited my sister at Moi University, and that time, the 2 weeks that I spent with her, I just got a new definition of freedom, because I was like, these 2 weeks that I'm with her, no one is really caring about whether she's going to class, I kind of admired it. So in 2010, when I now joined campus, I joined Kenya Utalii College, I was now looking forward to that kind of freedom. And indeed, I got it. And that's how I started drinking. My drugs of choice for the 2 years that I was now using drugs, my drugs of choice were alcohol and marijuana. But then I usually say I was lucky, because now 10 years later, that's not the same case. We have more drugs are available, So for me that time, it was just marijuana and alcohol. But then I will still use anything that will come my way you know, kitu kama kuber and other things, you know, there are things zenye mabeste wanaweza leta and, you know, like they tell you these things can give you a high and you're like nayo. So sometimes you just even consume things that you don't know, pills, you know, things like those.
Several studies have been conducted to highlight the serious nature of substance use in Kenya. Substance abuse disorder is characterized by a pattern of continued pathological use of psychoactive substance.
I think first of all I want to point out that you really, when people start using substances, they always think it's a recreation, it's peers are doing it, I want to belong, and they don't think it's a problem. It's but it continues to a point where you get to the stage where it impacts on your school life, your college life, your social life. You get new friends who you can stick with. So it's never really, nobody is born with this problem, but it's a problem that builds up with time when there is access. And some things, my take on this is some things you should just not start, like smoking. Nicotine is extremely addictive.
Yes.
You'll do it. It looks nice and it's it's harmless in the beginning, but it has a very rapid addiction, and it's almost a lifelong type of addiction where you're always struggling to get in and out. And then there are others who think drinking is harmless,
right.
and indeed it's a global thing, and a lot of people do drink alcohol, and it has no impact. They are what you call social drinkers, but for some people they lose this capacity to limit, either because of a certain personality type, or because maybe they have some type of biological predisposition to it, which might even be inherited from the family, maybe a family thing, or because they don't have coping strategies for stress. So they use these substances to deal with stress. Every time you're using a substance to deal with stress, then you have a problem, because that means you have poor coping strategies. A lot of our students, some of them don't use substances before they come to college, but because they're coming from settings where the access is not so easy, or boarding schools, and when they have access to everything. So this is really important that correct information is given.
The burden of substance abuse among the Kenyan youth poses a serious challenge for the country, as the quality of lives of drug users is greatly reduced. This is further worsened by the lack of self-care, as drug users often forgo food and other basic needs to cater for their addictions.
It stopped being the social drinking. I just want to be high all the time. And I never knew now this is what addiction is. For me, you know, I just wanted to drown my sorrows. I wanted to, you know, just stay high, forget my problems, you know. And I got into depression. I would go to the school counselor. Yeye akasema I should be admitted to a psychiatric ward. So all those events that took place, my parents knew something was going on. But then I don't think they really knew the depth of it, because you see I had a hostel, I was away from home. So kuna story tu mob wangekuwa nasikia, you know, this guy is doing this in school, nini. But I really don't think they knew the depth of my using.
It's important to note that drug abuse can affect aspects of a person's life beyond their physical health. These include straining personal relationships with loved ones, poor work and academic performance, inability to cease using drugs, difficulty maintaining personal hygiene, and increased impulsivity with risk-taking behaviors.
I was admitted now again to the psychiatric ward a second time. This was after I nili exhibit some sort of psychotic behavior. There's a day sasa I took a whole bottle ya vodka fulani 750, yani nilikuwa dry. Hii bottle ni ati ilikuwa ni buy nirudi nayo kole. Mimi nikaanzia tu tao nikipewa. So by the time na light like chuo sasa, unajua mati linipitisha ikanieka the next stage. So now walking back to Kole, hiyo time is like nikaanza tu kwa psychotic and I started stoning cars. The first car ilikuwa a private car, that one ili speed off. But the second vehicle ilikuwa mat. Mat hakuna vile, you know, nani huyo anajiona mauru sana kwa road, you know. Alishuka nikaanza kupigwa mob. It was all happening on Thika Road, just next to traffic headquarters. Sakarau tu fulani alikamdu aka intervene, nikapelekwa Muthaiga police station. So immediately after kutoka cell nikapelekwa now to the psych ward again. Mimi nilikuwa naendeo psych ward, najua ndio rehab. So nikitoka naambia maboys, mazee nimekuwa rehab. So sasa mimi mazee ngusu isipite kwangu, you know. Lakini sana nikaambiwa rehab. So now nilikuwa naambia there's this place called rehab where you are going to stay for 90 days. And I was like, you guys are crazy. 2 weeks was already bad enough. Utanipelekaje place 90 days, 3 months. So I had to be tricked. Aswali kama kwa hao kaniambia tunaenda place fulani nini. But nikajipata ni rehab tunaenda. Lakini kuna vile tu nilikuwa na idea. Nilikuwa na feeling tu, instinct tu fulani hasa mpeleka rehab. But I told myself acha ni cooperate, but ile place tunaenda nikiona signboard yote ya rehab, I'm out. But then the place you are going haikuwa na hiyo like uko nje, nilikuwa tu place posh uko Limuru. Lakini when we were driving in nikaona now through the reception something rehabilitation center. Kajua tu wenyewe they got me.
Given that a high number of students report first-time use of alcohol and other substances before university level, preventive intervention should start pre-university levels. Parents are encouraged to be more active in the lives of their teens to help prevent substance use. They can do this by knowing what their teens are up to, who their friends are, setting a good example, establishing rules and consequences for their teens, as well as communicating on drugs and their effects.
Rehab nilika 3 months. That's where my turning point happened. You know, for the first 1 month, most people in rehab wanna feel walitupwa, you know. But that like that change of mindset, ile kurealize, you know, it was love that uliletwa huku. Right now, I have an initiative. It's a Christian-based support group inaitwa Triumph Ministry. Our mission is to mobilize the former drug addicts and to engage them in Christ-centered activities. Any person, young person, boy, girl, if you're really affected by drugs, alcohol, or any other challenge, there's just a word that I want to share with you. Ni 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13 to 15. Inasema, no trial has overtaken you that is not faced by others, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tried beyond what you are able to bear. But with the trial, we will also provide a way out so that you may be able to endure it. Hiyo ni word. And for me, the word is truth. So just from that message, that's word that I use to face any challenge in life. Yani hakuna kitu bigi sana, hakuna kitu enye imekam kwetu enye God ajui. So let's face it with boldness, with courage, na tujue tu God is yakatuacha. And my message, stay triumphant.